Hello, everybody. We're continuing with the laws of Lashon Harah, Klal Ches, Halacha Yud, chapter 8, number 10. Ve'ata nevayer lifnei mi aser l'saper Lashon Harah. Now, I'm going to explain in front of who is it forbidden to speak evil, to speak Lashon Harah. You should know. De'ein shum chilek be'iser hasipor, benim hu mesaper la'anashim acherim, krevav or rechaikav, o le'ishto, im lo shuhu davar shetzarech lehodia pnei ha'toalas. There is no difference between a prohibition of Lashon Harah, whether you tell it in front of someone you're not related to or someone you're related to. Meaning, many people think that they are allowed to tell family members Lashon Harah. For instance, their spouse. Many people think there's no prohibition of speaking Lashon Harah to one's husband or wife. This is not true. The same rules apply when speaking Lashon Harah to one's spouse or one's family member as does ordinary people, as does one's friends or random people. So unless Chafetz Chaim says that there is a purpose, a toelis, of speaking the Lashon Harah, then it is forbidden. What would be an example of toelis here? Let's say to someone's wife. Let's say you own a store with your spouse, and your spouse wants to give credit, sell some stuff on credit to certain individuals, and you know that these individuals are not trustworthy and they will never pay. You're allowed to tell your wife, hey, these folks are not trustworthy. Do not sell them anything on credit. They're not going to pay. And also one's business partner, even not your wife, just a regular business partner. You're allowed to tell your business partner, hey, don't give these guys anything on credit because they're not very trustworthy and they're probably not going to pay. Okay. He continues the Chafetz Chaim. Now, even if you don't know for sure that these people are not trustworthy, you just heard rumors, you're still allowed to tell your wife and warn her, hey, I heard these guys are not so trustworthy, so please don't sell them anything on credit. Even though you should not believe it as 100% true. However, you're allowed to be worried. Like we've said many times, when one hears Lashon Harah about somebody, he should not believe it in his heart, but he does not have to suffer a loss because of it. He's allowed to protect himself. So you hear rumors that somebody is not trustworthy, and he comes into your store and wants to buy something on credit. You're allowed to deny him. You don't have to sell it to him on credit. Now, in your heart, you don't believe that it's true, but you don't have to get a loss for it. So now, and it says whether you know it yourself or even if you heard that this guy is not trustworthy, even if you just heard rumors, you're allowed to tell your wife not to sell him on credit. Ba'ofen zeh lo yisaper la b'lashon she'yeh muchach midvarav shemekabel ba'achlata l'ma sheshamar rak yamar lo shemati al ploni kach v'kach. Okay, and he's hari shalot tikifenu. But he says when you only hear a rumor about somebody, you should make it clear to your spouse that you only heard, it's only a rumor, that you didn't see it yourself. Meaning, don't tell her that this guy is not trustworthy, don't sell him on credit. You have to say, I heard this fellow is not trustworthy, so do not, let's not sell him on credit. Now, what's interesting here is, and this is pointed out by Rabbi Cohen in the footnotes, the edition I have in the Chalkas Binyamin, that here the Chafetz Chaim says that even if you hear a rumor from somebody that someone's not trustworthy, you're allowed to tell your wife. But earlier, the Ber Maim Chaim seemed to say, and he wasn't so clear if you only hear a rumor, if you're allowed to tell somebody else. Right? He said that if you see somebody yourself that he's not trustworthy, then you're allowed to tell somebody. But if you only hear a rumor, he wasn't sure if you're allowed to say that. But here, the Chafetz Chaim seems clear that you are allowed to tell somebody. So it has to be worked out exactly what the difference is. Maybe here telling someone's wife is different than telling a regular person, perhaps. Just throwing that out there. But it's always a good thing to. We had said earlier, in general, if you hear a rumor about somebody, to tell somebody else about it in order to protect them, you should really investigate the matter first to see if it's true before you spread it. But here, the Chafetz Chaim doesn't say that when it comes to one's wife. When it comes to one's spouse, it sounds like you just hear something, you're allowed to say it. So continues the Chafetz Chaim, Aval b'lav hachi, ein shum chilik b'davar. There is no. But besides this, if you're not telling your wife something that's a toelis or a family member, there is no difference. Rab mishtamshim, meaning you can't tell your wife lashon hara, right? The same rules that apply to her, that apply to everybody else, apply to her. And he says many people make a mistake in this. They tell their wives everything that happened to them, right? Anything that will reflect negatively on somebody, they share. Right? If something happened in the shul, someone did something wrong in shul, they'll tell their wives, oh, b'shuk, or they were in the mall. He didn't say mall, he says marketplace, but I'm saying the mall. Someone's in the mall and somebody did something to them, they'll tell their wife. V'hinei, milvad isur lashon hara, odhu marber b'zeh machlekes. Besides for the prohibition of lashon hara, this also causes fights. Right? Because besides the prohibition of lashon hara, you're telling your wife that someone did something wrong to you. She's going to go start defending you and fighting. That's not good. I mean, it's nice that you have a wife that's fighting for you, but we don't want to cause more fights. So he says, the Chavetz Chaim writes, that therefore one has to be careful not to tell his wife lashon hara, just like he can't tell anybody else. Now, I did hear from somebody. You should check this with your rabbi, but I did hear from somebody that when you want to, like, if let's say you're a teacher and you had a bad day at work and you need a vent, so that's letoelis to tell your wife what happened, so that you can, or a wife to tell her husband what happened in order to vent. That is allowed. I did hear that from somebody. That's considered letoelis. That's for a purpose. But you can check with your local Orthodox rabbi about that. But I did hear that from a reliable source. But when it comes to just spreading gossip, telling your wife the gossip that happened at synagogue or at work for no purpose, then that is for sure prohibited, just like it's prohibited for everybody else. Okay, let's do one more halacha. V'gam ein chilek be'isuro is Yud Aleph, number 11. There's no difference in the prohibition bein im hasipur hi lifnei anashim she'enim kroivav shel ha'ish shu mesaper alav o lifnei kroivav afilo ach al achiv etzel aviv gam kein lashon hara gemurihi. There's no difference when you speak lashon hara whether you are telling a random person or you're telling the family member of who you're speaking about. Right? You're telling Tom's brothers some bad information about Tom. That is lashon hara also. It doesn't matter that he's related. And he says not only that, even a brother saying something negatively about his brother to their father, that is also prohibited. Right? You can't, just because you're family members, there is no leniency there. There's no difference that you're allowed to go and spread lashon hara like that. So one can't speak lashon hara about one's sibling to one's parent. Even if the reason you're telling, let's say, your family member, you're telling your father, you know what my brother did, or your son, and your intent is to have the father rebuke him, even that's not allowed. Why? Because you should have gone to your brother and rebuked him privately. Then it's allowed. So he says that you're not even allowed to go to tell your father or your mother or your parent about a about a sibling, so that the parent should rebuke them, because you should go to them first. You should go to your sibling first to rebuke them if they're doing something wrong. He says the only time you're allowed to go to a parent first is if you know that by rebuking the sibling that nothing is going to happen, it's not going to work. So then you can go to a parent if you think that will work. So what we learned from here is that the prohibitions of lashon hara apply to family members when speaking to family members, just like they apply to anybody else. So one is prohibited from speaking lashon hara to one's spouse, to one's family member, just like he's prohibited from speaking to anybody else. And it's allowed to speak lashon hara to them litoelis, for a purpose, right? Just like it's always allowed. We didn't learn the conditions yet, but they're coming up soon. That when someone wants to share negative information for a positive purpose, to protect from a loss or something like that, then it's allowed. We had here that when it comes to a spouse, it seems that even if one didn't see the negative information himself, but just heard negative information about somebody, he's allowed to tell one's spouse about that. And we weren't sure, because in other places the Chavetz Chaim wrote that one has to investigate it first. It seems to be what we came out. But we said perhaps maybe a spouse is different. And we said that one isn't even allowed to speak lashon hara about one's siblings to one's parents. And even if it's for the purpose of correcting the sibling's actions, it's not allowed unless one spoke to the sibling first, or one makes an assessment that speaking to the sibling won't help. Hope everybody has a beautiful day.